So the management of margin calculations is a standard finance process that is usually automated through ERP systems. It's quite likely that there are few options of APIs available on the shared value marketplace that either run margin calculation algorithms or synchronize pricing and margin allocation across different ERP systems. It all depends on what's been decided between the product team, the architecture team, as well as the data team, based on the system landscape across the 4 businesses. Customer value options largely depend on customer personas applicable to the context in question, their typical preferences, and what value drivers exist to drive whatever imperatives the business is trying to achieve as part of the customer value management process. The basic underlying foundational APIs may exist in terms of perhaps predictive algorithms that build value options from detected trends in customer preferences. Ultimately, however, whatever shape these value options take will require a bit of highly contextual factors that will require a bit of augmentation for these APIs to function in the context. So perhaps an aggregator marketplace is far much more appropriate in this case. And now for the next objective. Self-curation essentially involves customer self-service processes and sub-processes that will determine the customer journeys required to take the customer from exploring options to eventually committing to the set options and actually completing a booking. A quite involved analysis would have to be done to start from the as-is for each business entity to a potential consolidated 2B processes, facilitating the 360-degree customer experience. The incorporation of these elaborate processes needs to be designed and optimized into the endgame business architecture for the vertically integrated value chain. So that's one more major component the business architecture team needs to think about in building the endgame business architecture. The trip curation would obviously involve the use of value options and potential customer preferences in enticing the customer to actually complete a booking as a customer acquisition exercise for a new customer or a retention and loyalty building exercise for a returning customer. The responsibility of designing this blueprint in terms of the value options construction and incorporation into the curation customer journey sits with the product team as assisted by the business analysis team. The fulfillment of services across the value chain is a partner engagement and management process that would obviously involve contracts in terms of shared value in whatever form the said shared value has been agreed to be. The management of partner contractual considerations is a commercial management function. There may perhaps be other partners outside of the 4 vertically integrating business entities that were perhaps part of individual business entities' value chains that could potentially add value to the new integrated value chain. Determining which of these partners get to stay and what is the new shared value construct is a function of commercial management as guided by corporate strategy. The processes of integration of the various value options across the service lines sits with business architecture. It sounds easy enough, but quickly becomes quite an involved task when one begins to consider things such as incorporating pricing and repricing algorithms that run in the background as the customer plays around with the different options in the trip curation process, how that impacts the various customer journeys and internal business processes, as well as how that generated data is managed throughout the process. How products and services are positioned, the design of the customer types, tiers, and perhaps persona groups ultimately informs what the key objective of the recommendation engine needs to be in terms of the ultimate impact of the choice of recommendation would be. There's financial impact considerations such as margin allowances, revenue and profitability, as well as strategic intangibles such as brand loyalty and customer experience optimization that eventually lead back to financial imperatives. Once the model and objectives have been decided at a principle and concept level, then it filters down the implementation framework for further detailed ideation, analysis, design, and execution. All these processes are typical components of service online and digital platforms, so the APIs to implement them should be available in a shared value marketplace. If not, then they become part of an internal or closed group collaboration exercise to actually build them, where components can be sourced from an aggregator marketplace. The actual recommendations are obviously determined by the context. However, the rendering and management of recommendations as a digital platform engine is something that is quite generic. Now let's unpack the loyalty points accumulation KPI. The fundamental principles of the loyalty rewards program are determined at a strategic level. And then they are unpacked as part of the design, analysis, and execution processes. The points accumulation process is largely a product design function and data analytics enabled execution process. There isn't much or perhaps any other customer journey considerations over and above showing or reporting to the customer what their points balance is and how they can access rewards, both of which sit outside the calculation process. We've spoken about the rewards model and how the major design decisions are structured around what customer gets how much points, accumulated in what way, how rewards are structured, and how these rewards are accessed through using points as currency. The detail required as guided by the high-level model built at strategic level falls with the product team. The process then unfolds to include element considerations at a detailed level as the model is unpacked. This is a loyalty program built for a vertically integrated value chain with a lot of highly contextualized considerations. So to find fully developed APIs that directly talk to the needs of the context is unlikely. Loyalty programs are, however, flavor of the decade, so a lot of components can quite possibly be found in an aggregator marketplace. Lastly, the digital enablement principles of all these lovely things we've been talking about. Those are obviously enterprise architecture considerations from an execution point of view. A collaborative responsibility between the system landscape, data ecosystem, and business architecture teams. With a bit of strategic thought leadership from the business analysis and product management teams. The building, scaling, leveraging of data ecosystems for operations efficiency optimization and strategic considerations such as customer experience as competitive advantage, as well as bottom line considerations such as data monetization, is in vogue right now as a disruption navigation lever in this increasingly digital disrupted evolving landscape. There should be quite a bit of data ecosystem capability available in the shared value marketplace. The quality and suitability of functionality might, however, vary across the portfolio of what is available in a shared value marketplace. In some instances, it might be more appropriate to source standard components in an aggregator marketplace where the functionality being sought is a bit more mature, and then perhaps leave the more novel elements for collaborative development within an internal or closed group marketplace. And there you have it, a function breakdown suitable to guide innovative execution of the solution in our case study. Let's now summarize the process we have been unpacking into a guide that can be adapted to suit your environment. See if you can think about how this could work in your environment and any possible upcoming small initiatives you can test it on. And there you have it. Join us in section 5 when we unpack some key commercial and financial considerations around the use of API marketplaces for capability building and innovation execution. Thanks for watching. Cheers for now.